to make it to Worlds. I have news for everyone. He's still crazy. That's Aimee in a nutshell. We'll see what they have cooked up for us here in picks and bans because we are ready for our second draft of the day. Olaf and Nidalee quickly banned out from the jungle pool, and there's Bard banned away as well from Road.
Starting off with the Olaf ban is a real interesting one. Amazing Jace played it in the top lane. I think it's going to be, of course, more of a jungle pick at this tournament. When we've seen the Olaf, it's performed really well. You can't look past Smithy yesterday, what he did for CLG in Game 1 over your European team. Prepo?
I don't recall what happened there. Just quite. The Rumble's taken off the table, which means Jace goes up in priority in pick and ban. We see at least taken off the board here, so we may actually get to see one of the few Rek'Sai picks of the tournament so far.
Well, we've got one last ban here for Aimee, so we'll see what they want to do with it. About 15 seconds left to make their choices here. Have slowed down a bit. So they're kind of thinking about what Flash Wolves might first pick as well. But like you said, Rek'Sai is kind of the obvious one open. Jace also potentially open with Rumble taken off. So do they ban the Jace? They actually ban Syndra, so taking it away from Maple.
Graves been a big pick for Karsa as well, so not a guarantee you'll go for Rek'Sai first, but it's a denial pick away from a Voidless who already has interesting creative pathing, and then giving him a champion like Rek'Sai who feels like Shaco at the times when it comes to the different ways you can just pop around turrets and go for aggressive ganks. It's probably too much, so it's probably smart to take away Rek'Sai from the likes of a Voidless.
Yeah, just a really strong pathing jungler here in Rek'Sai. Has a great presence in team fights, you know, fits in almost every single team composition, so that's why he is so contested. It does seem like teams are starting to realize the true value of this Syndra pick, and you know, they say even if they first pick it, we don't have a good counter pick left, and being robbed of a counter pick mid lane in this meta, standard lanes 5v5 is actually something that you want to avoid. Therefore, they're going for third ban on that Syndra.
So Jin Zhao was really heavy on 280 carry picks. It was Sivir and Jin. Jin, of course, had the larger nerfs since 615, but still very much in the meta. And we saw a Zac ban in Game 1 of the day. I'd love to see our first Zac on the Rift.
Well, I guess we'll find out soon because Aimee do have to have a little more time to make these choices here. But 2 picks to come. The third seed Chinese team. Do they stick with a consistent carry for Jin Zhao? Do they mix it up for a Voidless really in the jungle? There's Jin locked in. Oh, we are going to get it. Our first Zac of Worlds.
Oh, I love seeing a well-played Zac. There's a big difference between somebody who is just testing out the champion and who has played it in multiple scenarios, situations, coordinates with his team to really get the most out of that lead, because Zac, much like Evelynn, forces entire teams to change the way they think about ganks. Because you don't ward in the river versus Evelynn because she knows she'll be invisible. You don't ward in the same spots versus Zac because he'll just come flying over.
And just consider the jungle matchup. The power of Rek'Sai, apart from the global, strong pathing, is the tremor sense. It's about being able to see people set up for a gank. Zac just charges that elastic slingshot. There is no visual indicator there for the tremor sense. So just in terms of compositional-wise, in a 1v1 in terms of these junglers, I feel like Zac can outthink, outfox a Rek'Sai, and there aren't many junglers that can do that.
Well, it seems like Flash Wolves are going to keep it very safe for these next 2 picks. Na and Karma are locked in there, so flex potentially for Maple in that mid lane, but of course Sword Art can take it for a nice strong duo in the bottom lane as well.
Yeah, and it almost feels like this Karma is slotted in for support because what it brings to the bot lane, guaranteed push, good shield, speeds up your entire team comp as a miniature Sivir in the mid game here. Super strong support, and she was actually the main reason Nami came back into the meta because people needed an answer for that Karma in lane.
Well, we'll see what Aimee go with their next few picks.
Now, the Varus would certainly be in the wheelhouse of Athena. Some people here might not know, but last year at the Casper Cup, on ESC Ever at the time, Athena became known for his teleport Varus plays, and just in general was a bit of a Varus one trick on the international scene when he played at IEM Cologne as well. Going with what he knows on the international scene once again, sticks with the Varus.
Yeah, and he's a good pick against some of these stronger like duelist mages that are in the mid lane because he simply just outranges them. Yes, he will yield the pressure in certain scenarios where he can't contest the minion wave early, but he's always safe here. And they're building themselves quite interesting poke compositions. Varus Qs plus Jin Ws that can actually lock down targets for the follow-up that they can build here. Very complex to play, and obviously need to be careful. But if you can combine that siege poke, you know, with a flanking echo, you can do a lot of damage.
Yep, they've got the decent follow-up there with Amazing J's top lane echo. Lucian is locked in for the Flash Wolves though, and one more pick to come. It seems like it is a mid lane pick, so Karma kind of going where expected there in that support role, in a very strong duo lane with the Lucian and Karma. But Flash Wolves definitely taking their time with their final pick here, but they're out of time to pick, and it will be Vladimir to round out the team comp.
Kind of start worrying about the range discrepancy between these two teams. Both Jin and Varus heavily outrange anyone on the side of the Flash. Well, sure, they have the Gnar teleport engages. Sure, they have the Karma speed. But this is very much turning into team fight versus Poke.
Yeah, and it will that will mean that Flash will have to be ultra decisive in their approach. Go means go, which means Vladimir has to flash Ghost into the backline. Follow up by Rek'Sai aggressive going in, and hopefully having the teleport come in from MMD and flanking with that Gnar bar filled up here. But actually, this is a really big surprise here. The fact that Road locks in Alistar. You saw Mata do it in the matchup he should have lost, and this is actually very tough for them to win, because if they get poked down, you can actually never engage on Alistar. That's the whole premise of range support versus the Alistars, is you poke him down to 60%, 50%, he can no longer go for that combo because he'll just get bombed. Mata avoided that successfully yesterday, but can Road do the same? We'll have to see.
Well, we talked about Road. He really does have a very feast or famine playstyle, and Alistar as a champion I think will lend itself to that here. If he goes off a max place, I'm gonna look like it's the easiest thing in the world with this Alistar, but if things start going poorly in that bottom lane, Road's gonna be kind of a lot of that burden with the way that they've drafted here.
I mean, he defines go big or go home. This guy literally takes over a game or spends the most of the game with a gray screen, because this guy certainly is so polarizing, and he's gonna make a big name for himself because he's taking a massive risk, just like Mata with that Alistar.
Yeah, it looks like he's locked in the Ignite here. Thundercount Supreme. He wants to go for the Q flash on the Lucian, knock him into the Jin W, blow him up with the big crit. But if it fails, ooh, then it's going to be rough against that Flash with bot lane.
We'll have to see, but don't forget to send us your marquee moments with the hashtag World's Big Plays throughout the tournament so we can keep the highlight reel going on the road to the Summoners Cup. Flash Wolves versus IMA, our second game of the second day of Worlds, and these are the last two teams we have yet to see. Group B is going to have all its teams play once these two go head-to-head.
First Zac in that final first matchup, like you said, really excited to see. Sure, Meteos, off the stage now is going to step back, give him a bit of a, a peanut gallery for this Zac and try and rate his play. But it's a really interesting one. There's two teams that most people know a little bit less about than they do the big Western teams, the big Korean favorites. And I think a team like Flash Wolves could go far in this tournament.
Definitely, but every time they come into the tournament, they're a little bit underestimated, and every time people tell us, don't underestimate them, but I had such a hard time seeing how and why. But talking to some pro players right now, they're actually rating Flash Wolves quite highly, so I want to see if they can translate that, scrim rumor onto the stage here, and if they can perform.
Well, if there's ever a team that comes in very underestimated, it is actually IMA, the miracle team effectively from China, making it all the way in with a great run from relegation to the world stage. We'll see how they perform here in their opening game. Certainly nerves have to be running high for a lot of these young players, but Flash Wolves grouped together, they will be spotted by a ward here, but they're looking to maybe get creative with an invade.
Yeah, always really cool to see level 1s, how they adapt. Look what Sword Art and NL did in the bot lane. They placed a lane ward to see if Jin Zhao and Road would actually circle around and take brush contention. So they secured the brushes in lane first, then they went for the deep ward on camp. Basically, with those two information points, they find out exactly what IM is doing on their side of the map, and then they can react. Ranged bot lanes usually don't want to do camp. They just want to get access to the minion wave early, manipulate it in many different ways that are possible, to the point where you can deny CS of Jin Zhao and Road. And it seems like NL and Sword Art are set up for success here.
And so are these the two wards that teams should aspire towards? Obviously, there are times when a brush is camped, you get punished for putting them down. You can't always put down the same vision, but from what you're saying, it does seem like this is complete information at level 1.
It's just about ruling out options, They see Alistar and Lucian and Jin Zhao walking with the wave here, so they can react a couple of seconds earlier. Right now, all you need to do in bot lane is push and trade. So you secure the push early, and once you have that, you can go for the trades here. Look, Sword Art's probably going to look for some Qs on Jin Zhao, or at least zone him off. Road can no longer melee creeps because he is Alistar. The push is in favor of NL and Sword Art, and right now they want to stop pushing. They just want to poke, and look at the bot lane from IMA. They respect that by walking backwards.
And putting down 3 wards also stops there being any way for IMA to find extra experience for Road and set up a level 2. If you get level 2 first on an Alistar, sure, you can make big plays, flash, headbutt, pulverize, headbutt into the turret with the Ignite. But when that is completely rained out with 3 wards, then this lane is very predictable. It's going to be Flash Wolves in almost full control.
And right now, they're suffering, they're taking some poke. Will be able to farm on their tower, but then again, you trade for what? For freeing up your support. Sword Art can then move into the enemy jungle, perhaps randomly walk up in mid lane. Right now, there's not going to be too much action anymore in bot lane. It's all about how well Jin Zhao can farm, so we can start taking a look at some of these other lanes.
Well, the nicest thing is we had a lot of questions in general about the IMA bottom lane, so we'll see how they navigate an interesting situation with great play early on from NL and Sword Art. Avoiders is pathing down there, don't forget, they had that info, but Casa has also made his way to that side of the map as well. Solo lanes right now, kind of looking a little here and there, but should be okay.
And this is something Avoiders does really well. He's always aware of what jungler he's playing against, so right now he got the Wolf Sprite, which is really good against Rek'Sai, because you can always then spot him when he invades, you know, if he goes over some of these walls. Like, it's an auto-locator for the Rek'Sai. He leaves a ward in his own jungle on his blue buff, and he doesn't want to duel here because he doesn't have bot lane priority. As we talked about earlier, Papa, like, this Karma can just invade and contest blue buff.
Yeah, there's just no way with the exact 2v2 and with the level 1 from Flash Wars that you'd ever be in a position to have that quick blue buff pass off. Voidless is the one adapting his play a little bit here.
Yeah.
And L actually picked up blue.
Yeah, and that was handed off blue buff to really, you know, this poke lane just become pokier. They really want to punish that Alistar pick. Voidless read the situation though. He didn't linger around trying to contest and oh, oops, I lost smite. So he just went to the other side of the map. But then the reaction came out here.
Oh, this
Flash
is
moves.
greedy. He wants this, but he's forced to flash out of the way. MMD hops on Maple for the assist, and there's the hyper proc in. Athena gonna try and protect his teammate, but he's turned into blobs, and a
I love
teleport is
this.
gonna save the final blob. Might still go in for it. Oh no!
You're supposed to.
Yeah, you're supposed to complete the teleport.
You're supposed to complete the teleport because even though the blob is not moving on your screen, it is actually moving in real time. So the Zac will come out of that passive and then be able to escape. I think Amazing J just expected Voidless to die after the passive anyways. But that is one of those things you can do with Zac. Teleport renders the blob invulnerable, and it actually will complete Zac passive channel. It doesn't interrupt it at all.
But the one thing you can say is because it's the Echo top, not having a teleport means that he can just wait till level 6, still get a shop in and not be punished heavily. Because usually, if you can't get back and teleport to lane, you're going to be, what, a couple of Dorans, or in this case, perhaps working towards a Black Cleaver or a Frozen Mallet behind a Gnar. But because you can ult back into lane, not as punishing. You're not expecting map plays in the next 5 minutes.
Definitely, but this was beautiful team play by Flash Wolves. They figured out what happened level 1. They aggressively contested blue on the other side, so they forced Voidless' hands. And while he was trying to solo blue, they both collapsed from mid and top here. So this is poor team play by IM. Like, you can't allow your jungle to have to solo invade and not back him up here. Athena was not calling the miss properly or was not just joining. He was prioritizing his own CS over helping his jungler. And Voidless is punished hard on a pick that plays so poorly from behind on that Zac.
And Maple, the recipient of that first blood as well, already 10 CS ahead of Athena. Looking really nice on the Vladimir early on. Athena, he's doing what he can. He's Varus. He's very safe in almost any lane, but Maple's pushing him in now, and we kind of saw it already, but Flash Wolves having priority in those lanes. That means Castle's opened up to just do more and more, and that early Tiamat on the Rex side, this was the build we saw time and time again that we still expect, despite the Rek'Sai's getting a little less attention, and Flash Wolves are poised to really try and take over the game, 1k up already.
I mean, it's pretty predictable, right? Caster's gonna go for a skirmishing build. He's gonna rush the Tiamat. Maple's gonna hit level 6 soon, gonna be able to ghost out of lane. And Athena, you can see he's a defensive-minded mid laner. At level 4, it's hard for him to push the lane and come in, as Voidless is looking for something creative. But if they get the push advantage in 3 lanes, it's gonna be a fiesta for Caster to basically feast on whichever part of the jungle he wants on the side of Iron.
Yeah, Voidless, he was just stretching, you know, before you go into gank, make sure all your limbs are stretched out here. They get spotted though. Good ward by NL. That's what you want to do against Zac. That's what we were talking about earlier. You want to change your mindset. You don't need to care about river ganks from Zac. This guy is going to come through lane from over the wall.
Well, you can see Soda and NL still keeping pressure up in this lane as well. Up a couple of CS here and there, so looking good. 80 carry versus 80 carry.
Yeah, but they traded that CS advantage that they could have gotten for pressure, for example. You know, the fact that Voidless died originated from pressure in his bot lane. That's how League of Legends works, you know, cascading pressure, you know, from bot into enemy jungle. Enemy jungle has to adapt, goes into your jungle, you collapse, you know, all team play here. Solid performance by Flash Wolves.
But if you know that a team, let's say a team watches not, okay, this is the way to play League of Legends. Those 2 wards, maybe a 3rd one at level 1. How do you punish this stuff? Because it looks methodical, but there's surely counterplay.
I mean, there's always counterplay. You could stack 5 people in a brush. From having experience of having to design level 1s, it is always rock, paper, scissors, and then bazooka. Somebody will find it. But you can counter, or you take the hit, you know. Some level 1s are impossible to counter because you have an inferior team comp. Like, if they just group on you and you can't stop them from walking in, they will get the information. That's why usually you see teams concede the weak part of the map and just get a deep ward themselves. So, you know, you want this information, we'll trade you something on the other side of the map.
And in general, Flash Wolves, that play seeming very clean. They're playing well together. Their vision is up in nice spots. And now the lanes are starting to get edges here and there. And are still playing up here with Sword Art. Very easy lane to bully with the Karma here into the Alistar in particular. And you can see just constantly pushing this Jhin under tower. Protobelt on the way for Maple, so I like it. Going for the aggressive build versus the Varus, because realistically, what is Athena going to do? Doesn't need the Spirit Visage here early for the Vlad.
His itemization options are different because it's against an AD mid laner. There is magic damage coming out of top, and to some degree the jungle, but Spirit Visage will be a 4th, 5th item, if at all.
Yeah, just this really nice item for Vladimir to build, but definitely does need to prioritize, just like you guys were saying. Avoidless managed to find his way to 6 at least, but he's getting contested here. Every time Carson moves in, he's getting these hits from Sword Art.
We're going to try something. Avoidless charging it up, does get the knock up onto Kasa. Decent damage actually, and will follow in with the ultimate. Road in there looking for the play, but he's tagged Kasa on the back end with the Jin ultimate. Jin Zhao fires them away. This is the last bullet, because why not? The play, not too bad, but no conversion for Aime on the kill.
I mean, it's important to send the message. This is our jungle, stay out. Don't just roll over and concede every blue buff here, because they can finally get it to Athena, and this shifts this matchup so hard. Varus is very blue buff dependent, because he needs the regeneration to kind of turn it into a clear the wave and poke lane, as opposed to just clear the wave lane.
And the timing of the gank from Carso was no mistake. He wanted to be around the blue buff, contested, as you say. No blue buff on Athena, 3-4 Qs, and you're out of mana, even with a tier. Jin Zhao, happy damage to take.
Hurts a lot, actually. Culling not quite enough range there. But Jin Zhao taking enough damage to probably get forced away with Kasa just here behind the turret as well. And this turret's going to start taking damage now, maybe.
Yeah, this is where Flash Rules are kind of telling Aime, guys, we've got to place it up. You saw us place this ward in the lane. This is a teleport ward. That's why Road actually dropped this pink ward in the middle of the lane. If you scroll the camera above, like, he drops it in a position where you would not expect a pink ward, because they're blocking teleport wards right here. Flash Rules is usually you threaten the team with teleport, and you let them know. It's like, yeah, that's what we're going to do. Please step away from the turret. We would like to take it.
I mean, we saw Smeb do this just yesterday, teleporting back against Albus Nox and getting a big equalizer in. This, as you say, is a very obvious ward, but it does take away the clean strategy that other teams have shown.
Yeah, Road counters it with his pink ward here, but now this unrelenting pressure is almost becoming too much. Karsa exclusively camping bot lane. Take one down, pass it around, place another ward over the wall. They do know that there's still a pink ward there.
Avoidless just limbering up again. Doesn't go in for the gank, but they'll clear out what they can. And it really is all this attention focused down. Looks like Zach's going to move back and clear that ward out of the way. And Kasa, a quick visit to mid lane.
He doesn't want to
stay too long.
He doesn't want to clear that ward because he doesn't want to reveal himself. That's the problem right now. Like, that ward's there, and actually nobody wants to clear it, even though they see it. Alistair doesn't want to walk all the way there and yield lane pressure because they're stuck farming on the turret. So it's actually quite annoying.
The moment Avoidless shows himself there, of course, the top lane from the enemy can just go Rambo, knowing there's no chance of an answer from the Zac. Zac's long range.
Ooh.
Speaking of engaging.
In onto Road, Sword move back in again. Jin Zhao still firing shots, and here's Avoidless looking for one. Sword going to get slowed in by the Zac Q, and that's enough damage. Jin Zhao with a kill.
Yeah, that was a dirty play, and that's always the risk when you're laning against Alistair. If you're an even CS Q flash, so you cast the Pulverize first, and you mid-animation you flash on top of the Karma. He knocked him into another Jin trap. And actually, Avoidless, they knew he was roughly in the area, but he bypassed the Scuttle Crab. There's a little bit of fog of war there on the right side that you can sneak through. He went into the brush here, and he joined that party there, and Sword Art and NL weren't ready, despite Karsa being in the topside jungle. So this information was technically available, but sometimes you gotta play a little bit on the edge, higher risk.
And if the Zac had ever gone to clear that ward, then they would have had that extra cementation of the fact that, okay, he's on this side of the jungle. Didn't do so. So they're trying to rush down this dragon. It's taken by Aime, but doesn't look like the action's over just yet. Here's Gnar.
Drake took a little too long, I think, and Avoidless actually low there. Already like down. Road is dead. There's one as Zac goes into blob. That's one more. Flash Wolves going to try and clean it up. Maple maybe looking for another double. They do gift the kill to NL, and Aime costs for that Drake.
Run, Jin Zhao, he's stuck on a tower.
Oh, feels bad, man. And now the dive is coming. Jin Zhao going to fire away, but Soda gets one.
He was desperate trying to hide behind the creeps there.
Yeah, the Mega Gnar timing from MMD was perfect. We were talking about this guy's champion pool. He's on the analyst desk. He's showing that his Gnar is up to par. The Echo is one of his big picks. Amazing J had teleport available the whole time. Didn't choose to use it. Maybe was called to stay in lane. Seeing a replay of the fight right now. Of course, Road gives up his life. They didn't want any more bonuses, but it ends up being 3 kills, and predictably probably going to be the first break or the first turret of the game over to the side of Flash Wolves.
Yeah, really good reaction from Flash Wolves. So
so close.
So close to getting out there. Despite making this small mistake in lane, they actually capitalize on the follow-up play here. MD lingering a little long. He still has ultimate available.
Good Mega Gnar at the wall. Oh, he freezes in midair. And now Amazing J going to chase him down. He actually did finally come down for the teleport play, but the tower in bottom lane's already dead. That was far too late.
Yeah, trying to salvage something, and this is Aime being a little desperate. Sometimes these less cohesive teams will do things in the spur of the moment. You know, the unpredictability works in their favor sometimes, but more often than not, as you get against better competition, it becomes exploitable here. And Aime, right now, get down 2.7k gold here.
The item timing is looking really clean for the side of Flash Wolves. And I was actually just rotated top because they already have that bot lane turret, trying to get as much guaranteed gold, grow that gold lead, but Gnar has frozen Mallet just to some pieces of his item build here for Amazing J. So the laning focus from Flashwolves is looking really, really good.
MMD's booking it and does make it down to the bottom lane. Decent damage on the turret, but Flashwolves will hold on to it for now. NL and Kasa are assaulting his top lane outer, and Avoidless is effectively babysitting here to try and make sure that turret stays up. Sword Art joins, but he wants to clear wards instead, and Flashwolves still with such clean macro plays. Athena, a little bit of damage on the Maple, but Maple with the Protobot done already, and the makings of a Seeker's Armguard. Not really feeling it right now from the Varus.
The mid lane's just being played around, to be honest. Everything out. The game is happening around Vladimir and the Varus getting free farm, which bodes better for the Vladimir than it does for the Victor, especially because when you're talking about timings like siege timings, with the likes of Jin Zhao behind, with all the map control over to Flashwolves, feels like the items and just the engage options will be strong enough to counter any extended sieging from Iron.
I definitely agree there, Papa, especially if we look at the Sunrise too. You know, Ghost, Flash, Vladimir can dive into backline. His objective is to kill.
Protobelt as well.
Protobelt, you know, get that distance in. The 3-step jump of Vladimir.
Seen a lot of flash pulls this tournament already. I can't imagine Maple will buck that trend. There's good culling, you know, to Jin Zhao. We'll get the damage down. He's looking to wrap around. It is Sword Art going to zone them off the turret. Good damage onto Road, and that turret's not long for this world. Bottom turret still not taken down by Aime either. Amazing J's working on it, but they pulled their duo back to the top lane to try and salvage some of the assault there from Flashwolves. And Aime, you kind of mentioned it already, they are a chaotic team, but when Flashwolves is playing around you, they don't really care that much.
But you need to look at what Flashwolves is doing here. It's actually quite fun to watch, to see them execute it so well. Every time they push, Sword kind of holds NL's hand until he's at the tower, then he lets him go. It's like, don't die. Whatever you do, don't die. And then he groups up with Karsa into the jungle, places a couple of wards, deep vision, they back out and repeat it again. And every time, the map keeps shrinking here for Aime, and they feel like they're under pressure, and which leads them to either yielding or making these very like rash, in the moment kind of plays that end up biting them in the butt.
I mean, 2 teams in a row. First it was SK Telecom, now Flashwolves executing the full court press. You know, something that sounds great, that shouldn't be possible. You talked about trading objectives. That's kind of been what competitive League of Legends at the highest level has evolved into. It hasn't been so much trade. It's been Flashwolves getting 3 or 4 for just the scraps that I may able to pick up and even miss out on when we saw them attempt to get that kill on the Gnar in bot lane. So unless Aime can make a big pick and translate it into a big objective, it feels like Flashwolves are kind of on that inevitable rush towards victory.
Yeah, and they certainly don't have infinite time at all. 4,000 gold up already for Flashwolves is a substantial lead 16 minutes into the game. Aime did get the first strike, but it cost them 3 members and a turret last time. So I'll see if they play a little more carefully around the Ocean Drake that's spawning in a minute 10 right now. Flashwolves just continuing to move their members around the map and take hold of the relevant portions. With Drake coming back up, they're going to move NL, Kasa and Sword Art presumably back down to this lane and just keep playing around them. As Amazing J. That's a face shake into a knock up there. Does parallel convergence down to try and save his life. Culling is there. Amazing J has the ulti ready, but he can't really go anywhere good, but not enough damage to take him down.
And it's what you were saying right there. It's a 3-man squad of the AD carry, jungler, and support heading down to the bot lane. Traditionally, sometimes in the previous meta, you would see a 1-3-1 come out. You know, 3 members going to the mid lane. The problem is Vladimir is not really in the point where he wants to go side lane yet, and they're playing against a kind of one-shot wave clear AD carry in the mid lane. So it's kind of wasted. If Lucian, Karma go mid here, it's not good for Flashwolves. So they're actually doing a 1-1-3. They're putting their power on the side lane, push that wave all the way up, go in for deep vision, push it up again, and then they can converge on mid lane, potentially dive, and say to Athena, hey buddy, please step away from this turret. And that's what they want to do here. Either isolate tier 1 in mid lane, or get access to the dragon. And look at, if you just follow Sword Art on the map, he is indicating what objective is next for Flashwolves by how he's placing his wards.
We're getting closer and closer to the 20-minute mark. A stat here will kind of send a shiver down the spines of any IMA fans. So far this season, including regular season and playoffs, if there is at least 1,000 gold lead for Flashwolves, they are 27-0, have never lost with 1,000 gold lead at 20 minutes. Not even a massive lead, of course. We've seen far larger so far this tournament, but I just don't see a way for IMA to close that gap, and then Flashwolves are methodical from there.
Yeah, mostly because it's Flashwolves taking kind of the lead here and taking the advantage, seizing the moment kind of, as opposed to IMA going over aggressive and kind of throwing the game. No, IMA are being outmaneuvered here. Flash rules, very calculated.
We talk about it, they have kind of one big play left in them, but they need to do it at some point now, and this Drake doesn't look like there'll be any contest at all for IMA. They'll give that over. They've got one themselves. The Ocean isn't too bad to give up here, but it just kind of continues to sell the story that IMA aren't willing to challenge Flash Wolves, and if you're not willing to challenge for things when you're the team that needs to kind of make something a little kooky and a little crazy happen, Flash Wolves are just going to play their game and you're going to lose.
IMA have made big comebacks in the vein of games like this. You just look back to the game that qualified them for this tournament.
Oh, yeah.
The 5th game against World Elite, where they were massively behind. Amazing J on top lane. Nautilus was feeding out of his mind, but they extended the game further and further and further until one big team fight took it. So is that going to happen here? I don't predict so, but there is still runs on the board for IMA if they're given the breathing room that so far Flash Wolves have not been granted.
They're getting a small moment of rest pretty soon here because the war line isn't deep enough and Sword Art's side zone is empty. Quite a few people.
Little victories, Crepo.
Quite a few people sitting on quite some gold here. That's the moments you gotta seize here, and that's the problem with the new like warding items. Like they need to be refilled. You don't have unlimited wards. Gone are the days that you can have 20 wards in your inventory and just ward up everything, like Mata did. Because of Mata, that got changed. It's like that's not supposed to be possible. So right now, Sword Art has the base, you know, refresh everything. The map gets reset. I may maybe have an opportunity to sneak in a brush somewhere, maybe make a play, but then they need to read the map.
Rift Herald, though, over to Flash Wolves is good news for MMD or Caster, depending on who they give it over to. Looks like it is the top laner, though. Should help him out against Amazing J. Although he doesn't need too much help, and we are encroaching on that 20-minute mark, about 15 seconds away, and Flash Wolves are certainly more than 1,000 gold ahead.
Because of that 20-minute duration, it means they'll actually have the glimpse of the void on the Gnar, is already going to have a sizable advantage in the 1v1 till 39.5 minutes, and I don't know if the game's going to go that long, but regardless, it's going to be just maximum uptime in the business end of the game on the Rift Herald buff.
Yeah, great point there. That's another kind of late game insurance that they have ready for themselves. So everything is kind of tying together here for Flash Wolves. Looks very controlled to me. Looks very methodical. It does. Some of these actions are not randomly happening. It's not like, oh, there's a blue buff, let's invade. These things are happening in unison. They're using wave push to then free up members to outnumber single opponents here on IMA and take away their buffs, their dreams, their hopes.
I mean, when we were on the analyst desk yesterday, Crapper, there was so much to talk about because teams weren't this methodical. They were making mistakes. We didn't get treated to solid macro like we've seen so far today, so...
Not everybody enjoys the solid macro.
No, and unfortunately we don't get quite the same level of hype plays, but it is good to see, especially from a team like Flash Wolves, that you know, some people have put this team at last in their groups. Some people seem confident they might make it out of groups. I may are hard to read as well, but we're certainly getting at least a picture of Flash Wolves and the ceiling of this team in a game like this.
That's the hard thing about IMA. When you watch some of their games, they do like the crazy stuff ever, and you're like, yeah, go IMA, and then you tune into another set and you're like, IMA, what are you doing? Please stop whatever this is. And you never know which one shows up.
Well, unfortunately for IMA this time, it's kind of neither, to be perfectly honest. They're sort of letting Flash Wolves just play their game, and IMA certainly aren't playing theirs yet. I think the mid lane turrets are causing a lot of that grief. Athena and Maple have just really been trading wave clear back and forth, and with no big open point, neither team feels comfortable to make a big play, at least like diving around these turrets. But Flash Wolves are happy to play patient here, and IMA are just kind of letting that happen.
Yeah, so without many kills, there's not much we can do other than talk about the story or kind of dive into the details of these invades. You saw the kind of apprehension with which they invaded. Karsa, Prey Seekers first, Sword Art around the corner, you know, very careful, afraid to face check and get Q flashed on again here. So it's methodical, albeit a tad slow. I wouldn't mind if there was a crazy fight pretty soon.
I come from the land of the LCK. We're just 5 kills at 22 minutes. This is where we usually start talking about Star Wars. That's kind of where we go at this point in the game because Flash Wolves are doing everything right, and IMA are being dictated to. So talking about the League of Legends, it's clean, it's methodical, it's over time. They're going to keep pushing the wards further and further on the red side, look for a Baron, look to cement the game, and anytime someone pokes their head out like Road, they're going to take half their health at best.
Yep, 3 wards go down, only 1 gets cleared here, a couple camp wards here, so that's right side secured. Problem is, if you want to do this correctly, as Sword Art, you kind of have to become a baser. Every time you ward, you base, you ward, you base. The life of the support gets reduced to that if you want to play macro. They're looking for a bit of a rotation here though. A couple of deep wards, making sure that they're not spotted on the way. They want to isolate tier 2 bot lane, maybe turn it into a dive.
Not too bad here. Drake up in 125, so kind of a reasonable side of the map to control at this stage. Looks like damage Going to get taken up pretty quickly as Jinjal's got 1.5 items. MMD and Amazing J going to battle. In fact, pops back in a mini after a Gnar. Amazing J trying to get himself out of this situation.
Oh.
Boomerang's not good, but he took the ulti back in MMD. Flashes on his face into a Voidless, who's here to save his teammate. Athena missed his ulti, but it's not going to matter. A Voidless collects it.
Gotta see what the cross map here is, guy. One guy, there are 3 members in the top lane here. This is the block the bullets, Garza. Yeah, 1 creep left. It's enough time here. Tower's gonna go down. There's 2 more range creeps right
Is
there.
Road, does he do it? The teleport's in as well. Imei trying to make that chaotic play. They lock up Casa with a W there from Jin, and Amazing J once more. He has to take Casa instead.
Oh.
Great flash from the Rek'Sai, might be enough, but a Voidless swings his way in, does not connect there with the knockup, and he's chasing down, but he's actually a little too far forward. Amazing J will take out Casa with a Voidless, flashes out to safety. Maple now forced to get himself in a pool, but Jinjal's ready with a snipe. It's Athena instead that collects it as Enel flashes towards the Jin, looking for another one, but Flash was bit off way too much here, and IM, that paid off well.
And this is exactly what IMA were looking for. The first pick and just the overextension on the top side. Teleport, the cross map has worked.
Oh.
Teleport, speaking of coming as well here.
This is a little much because Zach typed in with passive and thought the team could follow, but MMD cuts him off at the pass. Amazing J cannot connect through. And what a chaotic team fight win for IMA.
Yeah, I may very much so have the one way in, no way out mentality. You either fight until you win or die. And it was very apparent in a Voidless jumping in at the back there, trying to buy time, but then he didn't calculate that there was 1 teleport on their side, but that usually means there's a teleport on the opposing side as well.
And there's been a lot of questions about the communication methods for this IMA team. The word is they have 3 different languages that are being translated through. Back when we saw the Korean exodus, you know, Korean players starting to go to the likes of Europe, China especially, North America, we saw the limitations of having a mixed language roster. I shudder to think what the case is with 3 languages, but regardless, they've made it what they've gotten to Worlds. But then it's little plays like that where you're like, that should not happen with perfect communication.
Yeah, this is Flash, so they take down the turret, but because they kind of stayed too long, all trying to help Karsa here. Amazing J comes in with the teleport. It's good mechanics for Karsa, doesn't knock up his flash here. Doesn't quite get killed. A Voidless just a tad short, and then Maple comes in, and then the Fiesta starts.
No other way to call a Crepper. The fight goes longer and longer. This is all after Gnar gave up his life just for pressure on the top side. Flashels took an answering turret, and now goes Rambo on the bot side. But that death timer is what actually is the big story of this fight. 2-1. The Gnar is back up with teleport. A Voidless could have backed off. Just as the teleport comes in from the Gnar, Voidless jumps to death and gives up a lot of the advantages that IMA had finally been able to claw back into the game.
Yeah, it's the Drake and a turret that Flash was got there, and the 1 kill, so IMA collects some kill for themselves. Do get some gold, which is nice. 2 items for the Jin and Varus are completed, so that poke can maybe start to do something. But Flash Rules, they're back out pushing on the map. We can see that IMA is starting to push out their vision a little more and try and find some of those fight situations. Like, we know what IMA want to do, but Flash Rules can have to reel it back in and see if they can't keep containing them.
Yeah, Flashers make the correct decision though. They flip the map upside down. They're playing a 3-1-1 right now. 3 members in the top lane. So they're going to use that push to lock people under the turret, then move in for the deep vision. They're going to secure the jungle first, the river later, and they really want to isolate that Baron as an objective.
They could just find a way to take this mid lane turret. Athena, for his defensive laning, has been able to keep his mid lane outer turret very healthy. To be fair, Flash Wolves have been rotating exclusively around bottom top. They haven't made many visits to the mid lane, but keeping this mid lane turret healthy is probably one of the main reasons why Flash Wolves haven't even started the Baron so far, despite all their map control.
Yeah, because step 1 in every Baron play is push mid, and if you can't push it past the remains of the destroyed tier 1 turret, then you can't access the Baron, so it's very imperative for Flash Wolves to take down the tier 1. It's very rare that a tower survives that long in a competitive game of League of Legends.
It's still there in Athena. He's not letting go of it lightly. Level 15, so is Maple. They've been here for a while, just clearing waves out of it. Flash Wolves mid lane turret, for what it's worth, is kind of low. It's got about 20% of its health left, so I am with their AD carry mid laner, and good poke between the Jin and the Varus can maybe look to get in there, break that space open, and all of a sudden, the game's going to open up here. Castle once again locked up, and that's a kill! Snipe there comes in, that's enough there as Road actually collects it, and now Maple going to get chased off on the other side. NL trying to find a way in as Maple pulls to safety, not enough with Amazing J. Will continue chasing, but has to give it up as I may get one.
You've seen the limitations of Flash Wolves' control game because they're just pushing up too far, being too disrespectful to a team that does have range initiation. Zach Varus, Alistar. Ironically, the team that we originally conceptualized as a poke comp has more engage tools than flash tools. They're putting them to good use, and that first mid lane out turret's going down, and it's for Aimee.
Yeah, they use their pick potential that's built into the comp as well. You know, combo can be used as peel, but let's not forget, a single target combo into Jin W is the perfect pick-off attempt here. And Aimee, they let Flash Wolves get a little bit too comfortable here, splitting up, controlling the map, and they bite back.
Still behind pretty substantially in gold, but have shortened it a bit from the 5,000-6,000 to 3,500. So Aimee looking a little better and have access to the center of the map most crucially. I think it's what they do with the space they've created that really matters here. And this mid turret's going to be a real sticking point for Flash Wolves as this game goes on. We're 28.5 minutes in and it's still alive.
It's the only thing that is keeping Aimee, giving them a semblance of map control, really. You know, having that static point that they can really go hide in. It's their safe zone right now.
But it's not a mistake by Flash Wolves. Consider the proposition for Flash Wolves. You want to come in with Vladimir, Gnar, Lucian, not long range AD carries or auto attackers, and we're going to have instant wave clear from Varus. Zac can jump in. You need the world's deepest wards to have any predictability about where Zac is going to engage from onto someone trying to take that outer mid lane turret. We saw what Marta could do on the Alistar if he comes on a flank, so you need to basically pink ward both your flanks and have deep vision that sticks, plus have to find a way to deal with Athena just wave clearing from off the screen. So mid lane turret for now is looking impervious as an objective for Flash Wolves to hope to pick up.
Yeah, it could be worth for them to kind of swap up what they're doing. 3-1-1 is playable and it requires finesse to finish off, but if you struggle, it might be worth going for the 1-3-1. You know, put the 3 in the middle, put Vladimir on a side lane, force Aimee to split up, and then maybe get flanked or dove in the mid lane. Obviously, very easy for us to talk about this, but these are some of the things that are going through Flash Wolves' mind right now. How do we solve this? What is our approach? Luckily for them, they don't majorly get outscaled in the late game, so they can still take it slow.
Hot road kind of, but pops the ulti and he should be safe there as Alistar, but maybe the re-engage is looking good for either team here. Flash Wolves with a bit of an opportunity to shove it up mid and see if they can't do damage, but Athena gonna stop all that fun once again, and Jinjar's making his way down from the top lane. So Drake up in 40 seconds, Baron is on the table now as well, almost 30 minutes into the game, and Flash Wolves have just been playing a little more scared than they were in the early stages of the game, and that's where Aimee can really strike.
I mean, if we could listen in to Flash Wolves' comms, they're probably saying, keep doing it, we've done it well so far, keep to what we're doing. But it's extending the game, it's getting Aimee gold. The gold gap has gotten basically smaller or the same for the last 15 minutes. And while Aimee don't necessarily have a massive compositional advantage in the late game, you're just giving an option for this game, despite all Flash Wolves' good work, being decided by a single team.
Yeah, we're hitting a breaking point here though, because look at the vision on the map here. Once this Lucian and Alistar step back, where are they? This is basically a game of hide and seek right now for Aimee, because they've gotten comfortable farming on their turret, but they've left the entire Baron area exposed. Right now, Baron could be being started and we would be none the wiser, and that is a looming threat of a Baron bait here. At this point, I don't even know if Baron is being started.
And there's one red ping. Aimee are like, uh-oh, that's actually a possibility here. So we wander over and check it. Now with the vision back on, we can see that I haven't started it, but that's going to give effectively a free trade over to Flash Wolves.
And that's the power of Fog of War, and that's sometimes we forget when we're watching this game in full vision, like, why are these guys not doing this or that and not rotating? Do they not see this guy? No, they don't. They literally don't see him.
One advantage for the side of Flash Wolves, so for the side of Aimee, is that the Drakes they've passed over aren't necessarily the most impactful in the late game. A single mountain might help with taking Baron or maybe finally cracking that outer mid lane turret. But if a couple of Infernals had gone the way of Flash Wolves, then the turtling would have really been punished for Aimee. But because it's been these other three, they just have, again, more of a chance to scale, and the game being decided in a single fight is happy times given how the start was for Aimee.
Well, you can see Flash Wolves still playing with plenty of vision around particularly the Baron, which seems to be the next objective on the table after they took that Drake. Elder Dragon will also spawn as the next one, because we've gone actually surprisingly late into this game with Flash Wolves slowing down, and Aimee, they're doing what they can, getting the wards in, trying to check it, but pretty hard to defend. 5 in the pit versus Zac and Alistar, so Flash Wolves need to do their research before starting a major buff.
They are used to playing very long games here. Methodical gameplay probably originates from playing these slow calculated styles with limited risks. They're also running into a really annoying composition. Like, if you want to control vision, you gotta control smite steals from a Zac. This guy can come from anywhere, over any wall, just leaping in. He can even do a drive-by steal. He doesn't even need to land in the pit to steal Nashor. So it's very annoying to play against, and that's all what's stopping Flash Wolves from really starting that Baron.
And as an LCK caster, I can tell you for sure, Crepper, that just because your game time's over 40 minutes doesn't mean you're methodical. Jin Air, 43 minutes, and it's
good
not
old
about
CJ.
being methodical. CJ also. Rest in peace, CJ.
Rest in peace, Mad Lad.
Have those long games, but so far, Flash Wolves, they haven't made big mistakes. There's been a couple, but they've been methodical, just like there's like Samsung that also have that the only team at Worlds with a longer average game time. It's just if you're methodical and risk averse for long enough,
yeah,
you open it up for the death timers to decide the game.
And that is a mistake in itself. The lack of proactivity is not visible because not doing certain actions is really hard to spot as a spectator, but there are definitely moments where Flash Wolves could have gotten more, sent their support quicker to base, get some wars out. Yes, we're nitpicking, but we have to. We're at the world stage right now.
Well, I mean, the one thing I'll say is that 33 minutes in with this advantage, Flash Wolves have done 0 points of damage to Baron. It's never even been hit, let alone start, let alone really cultivated. Sure, they've had exclusive vision over it for good 5-6 minute portions, but IMA being allowed to just walk in and clear wards, pop them over the back. No one is punishing them for putting down effectively 100% uptime Baron. And so far, it seems like IMA are only willing to fight over their outer mid lane turret or Baron. Every other objective they seem pretty damn happy to see.
I would almost like to see them swing the map a couple of times, because usually when you play too much on one side of the map, it gets really hard to take full control. So what you do is you flip the side. You just basically go like, we go for deep vision on enemy wolves, put some wards there, choke the vision out, and that allows Amazing Jade to be pushed in just a little bit more by MMD. And then a potential rotation bot could open up an inhibitor, for example, at least keep IMA on their toes. This repetitive vision congestion around the red buff area is just too easy for IMA to defend, especially when you consider that Zac will almost always have a 50-50. Perhaps Flash Wolves just need to pull the trigger.
Well, it does seem like Flash Wolves kind of letting the game drag on a little too much, but both teams are armed for whatever the big team fight comes in. Maple is massive with almost 4 items completed. NL's encroaching on his fourth as well. Jin's done with 3 items with another coming. Athena has 3.5 already completed. Like, we've kind of had this big build-up phase where everyone's kind of building their big fort that they're ready to sort of play in. And at some point when we have a team fight, assuming we do get one, and we kind of have to, all the games, I think, going to go on forever, or the minions will decide it, we're kind of getting to a coin flip situation, which I don't think is where you want to be if you're Flash Wolves. And that's a bad start. Sword Art dead in an instant.
Yeah, Sword Art got flipped right there. Both teams playing Civilization, building a nuke. Whoever's finished first gonna win it all. But Sword Art, he's gotten so comfortable. This river used to be his. But IMA are slowly starting to creep back on the map.
It's because that vision just hasn't been sticking behind the pit. Zac comes over because they don't have vision at the curved brush next to the red buff. They've never pushed the vision closer past the red buff since what? 15 minutes into the game, 18 minutes into the game. Scaling time and time has gone over to IMA. One pick, they've got Baron control. Sword Art will be back on the map, but suddenly it seems like Flash Wolves are the team on the back foot.
Yeah, they're definitely coming back into this game here. Luckily for Flash Wolves, a new objective will get put on the map, and that actually allows you to kind of pivot. You can drag people outside of their base, outside of that red jungle, because if IMA is camping to defend Baron vision, what's going to happen is Flash Wolves are going to use this triple Drake and take Elder. And they can trade Elders as well, because if I may pick up Elder with a single Dragon buff, it's really not that efficient for them. So you can see how Flash Wolves use this late game time that they're used to playing and kind of trade off these objectives.
The Elder Dragon question is a really interesting one. So you pick up this Elder Dragon, doesn't make your minions any stronger. It's theoretically, Varus down the back, Archer takes out the minion wave. 90 seconds, not that long a time. But what you can do, you rush down the Elder Drake. IMA's like, well, we're not going to be able to fight for this. We can still turtle around turrets. Then in that 90 seconds, you go to Baron, you start hitting. You're going to have 15% extra damage from the mountain. You're going to have the burn on it as well. And that's the one place where IMA actually has to fight.
Yeah, or how do you siege on impenetrable walls? You get a trebuchet. You literally throw Vladimir in and have him kill some people. You throw in Maple there and have him suicide on Athena, and then suddenly the wave clear is gone. That could also be an option here. At no cost, people want to trade Baron for Elder, but we're finally seeing a Baron start, finally getting some excitement. Let's see who gets it.
10 people alive, and here we go. Flash Wolves decide to just burn it down. Avoidless is kind of ramping up for a steal, but Flash was actually going to TP in. Road wants to flank. Avoidless goes in for it. Huge combo in there as Road gets a couple with the Pulverize. Ginger firing in as Road's taking damage, but he's soaking so much here as IMA going to finally come into the backside as well. MMD dope the backline, but NL finally takes out Road. Nah, very tanky in the Mega Form, and IMA lost one, and I think that's enough for that team fight.
It's enough for the team, but remember, IMA is playing a poke comp. Both Varus and Jin can still deal damage while Baron resets.
And at this point, Flash Wolves have to go back on Baron, but it's only Alistair down. This can still be a contest by IMA.
Athena needs to really line him up here. He's about to lose that GA. Amazing goes in. Avoidless wants it. Goes in for it. And Maple low, but Amazing J jumps on him. And Maple will pull out to safety. Still trying to keep them out of the pit. They've actually forced Flash Wolves out as NL looks to go back in. He's doing a lot of damage on the Lucian, but Athena and Jhin, too many problems here, and Flash Wolves give up on the objective.
They give up. Both teleports have been used 4v5. It was bold that they started the Baron, but then everybody in Flash Wolves had the same idea. I'm just gonna hide in the back of the pit, avoid this smoke, and then a 3-man arrow came through from Athena here, and that really turned the tides of that fight. But right now, the map will be condensed. Both teleports being used is in IME's favor because they want to group up and poke out and get control of the river that way. So Flash Wolves, they need to play this Dragon Dance correct.
I think it's a worrying trend that Flash Wolves tried that. Shoutouts to Jad, of course, forcing that Baron, because honestly, they've kind of been, if this was a poker game, they've been kind of playing tight aggressive. They've been looking for their spots, they've been picking them out, and then just kind of went all in on a 5v5 fiesta. Anyone could have taken that Baron. It was super risky, but they just don't have another way to win the game, and that's just kind of dawned on them 35 minutes in, and they're rushing back to the Baron.
They said they had to force it, but force they do, and this just keeps costing them. Maple caught again. Actually, ulti hits Sword Art in the back as Athena lets it loose. Maple forced to use that bullet. Sword Art getting sniped. Couple more bullets are going to cover for him.
Rogue
Blast bullets in, but it's not enough, and Rogue takes too much pain. Will live, though, as Amazing Jane avoid this, looking for MMD, and once again, the snipes keep coming.
The excitement is finally coming. When Pokemons actually start sieging and setting up around an objective, it becomes a game of dodgeball. Pretty one-sided game of dodgeball right here, and then it actually becomes entertaining. This is the build-up we've been waiting for all game. Flash Wolves initially with the lead, calculated, beautiful macro, but then they slow down. Right now, we got ourselves a good old Baron dance.
Voidless wants in again. He looks for Casa, does get him with a knockup. There's the knockup.
This
to the
be the
left
fight?
side. Casa goes in. Casa with the dust blade goes in as Ginger gets taken down. And the ulti back from Baron tags NL. NL goes down for the shot as Maple is trying to salvage the fight, but Amazing Days here to stun it up, and MMD just can't do enough in Magnar form. Maple falls and IMA win 3-0 in the team fight.
We get a single team fight in the game almost 40 minutes in, and it might actually decide it. Death time is along. They'll rush onto Baron. The regen will be there from a Voidless, and IMA should take the Baron. And the front foot was with Flash Wolves for so long, but if you don't find a way to open the game, even take the mid lane outer turret, this is the punishment.
Yeah, you can take it slow. The revenge from Flash
They're like,
Wolves is-
please, we need this.
You blocked us from Baron. Die, turret, die. We're gonna take you down.
40 minutes and the mid outer turret goes down. That has to be a record as Athena trades the top outer turret. IMA finally going to open up the map a little more. Bottom in hip turret looked a little dicey, but the Flash Wolves minions were not enough versus Road, who, by the way, it's his birthday today. So we'll see if he can collect a win for himself on top of that here. And IMA, we talked about them kind of turtling, being that coin flip team that's willing to take the late game team fights. They just won the late game team fight.
Look, you can take it slow sometimes. When you're a little tired, you can lie down, rest a little bit, snooze. But whatever you do, don't fall asleep. And that's exactly what Flash Wolves did right here. They fell asleep. They stopped playing the game. They couldn't find a creative way to get around that mid lane turret. So they ended up trading Baron for it.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where Flash Wolves couldn't find a different way to win. They realized that if they went to the Elder Dragon, they would have seen the IMA rush Baron because they'd given so much time for the items to be in position that you can start the Baron. Zac, Echo, Alistar can all tank it. They won't fall low. They can turn around for a fight. And then you gave the ultimate gambling team a 50-50 by continuing to fight around Baron. In fact, the Baron's probably lower. They tried Baron so many times. Now the super minions, now the siege that we thought may never happen is with Baron buff as well.
And the Pokemon gets so much better with Baron buff as well because you have just so much more time to hit people, and it's so much easier to hit them as well because they're busy trying to kill the minions, which means they're in static, predictable positions, and then you hit. The only counter is a flank or a teleport flank, and that's what they're trying to do here.
There's the flank, but Maple may be caught out already. IMA looking to go back in onto Casa.
Venus free hitting.
Good transform time, but the damage is still good. Naza back in, but it's not quite enough, and the rest of IMA just going to charge forward into the backline. Maple still dishing out damage as Jin down, and NL going to battle, but Jin winning out on that crit battle.
Close fight here, but remember, Pokecoms don't really need their ultimates when they siege. They like trading them 1-for-1, going for the reset, and then repetitively shooting out these projectiles. Athena is still on full health, full mana, and he's really gonna ride this wave into the turret here, but it does look like Iman's being careful. But if you look at the Baron power play, top right of your screen, 5,000 gold.
Yeah, 3 turrets, casually taking down 5,000 gold, way ahead of average for a Baron buff power play. Gonna rotate to the top as well. Not really many answers for Flash Wolves. We mentioned it in draft. It's only the Nard teleport flank they really have for true engage. So suddenly, Flash Wolves are the true onlookers, and IMA can take the inside track, rain in hell from far away with this Varus.
Look at the top of your screen, though. There's a really big teleport.
There's deep teleport,
but it's
there's Gnar.
being pinged out, so both teams are aware. But can they escape here? What can MMD do?
The catch Athena maybe is the call here, but the ulti goes out. Athena's still taking too much damage and avoid this. He's going to try and tie him off. Athena lives forever, though. And then finally takes him down, but the damage could be done. MMD, Nars Amazing J to the wall, but avoid this.
So
Resets the fight with Let's Bounce and just trying to get through the chunky front line. Amazing J finally forced to retreat as Maple on the prowl for a couple kills. Amazing J gets his passive, runs himself away. And only one kill onto Athena is not bad for that TP.
Yeah, definitely not bad on the backhand. Jin Zhao also has his ultimate. MMD, don't lose that Guardian Angel, you need it.
Doesn't get sniped, and Amazing J re-engages for it. Damages there, gets locked down by the Deadly Flourish as well.
And this is a surprisingly careful Aimee. When they have the option to really push for inhibitor, they choose to take down all these outer turrets, so they take it slow. When they get teleported on and they have a turn window, they don't go all in. Road is not comboing forward, so they have learned at least something during the bootcamp.
Coming back to the bootcamp, it's too early to call winners and losers of Worlds. That's going to be decided by the end of groups, by the end of the tournament. However,
aren't we supposed to say that Europe's bad after 0-3
well,
and that North America's the greatest region in the world?
I'll let you deal with that on Twitter. But what I'm actually referring to is the winners of the bootcamp, because China, we saw it from RNG suddenly. Much more controlled aggression than just outright aggression. When it comes to China as a region, famously, you and I, Pace Time, have been following for a very long time, it was always aggression first, thoughts later. We're not seeing that this tournament. It's a much more controlled. Clearly, the bootcamp has brought China up to speed on some of the stronger aspects of macro play that are apparent in other regions, and they haven't been exposed on the international scene here, Jaime.
Yeah, and with all this kind of failing macro and then sudden burst of action, we haven't talked too much about the items. Road is definitely serving Jin Zhao here, building that Zeke's Harbinger, getting the crit that's not in the build, which leads to more damage for the Jin overall here. Let's see, there's a Mikhails on Sword Art as well, really trying to like make people survive if they do get put into that Varus ultimate or get put under that dome from Echo.
And we get to the point where Lucian's build, of course, went for the early Youmu's into the Black Cleaver. Now it's starting to sell some of those items. The Black Cleaver probably still is slot efficient, but isn't providing the same sort of victory. They're looking here, Flash Wolves, for the Elder Dragon. First visit to this at 45 minutes, but it's not going to be a freebie, that's for sure.
If they can reset the fight, it would be so good for Aimee here because that's what they want. They want the Dragon fight to last as long as they can, but Amazing J is finally teleporting down, which means Flash will yield and they kite out. Now mid lane is exposed though. This could be a rotation mid for Aimee. That's what they think about, but then Dragon goes low.
Yeah, MMD's tired as well, but Amazing J has to stop them here. The Elder Dragon's actually fairly low, as they might have caught Maple here. He gets knocked up again, but he needs to go back into pool. He does get himself up, and he gets less bounced on as Jin does trying to snipe him. Avoid this, tanking him up as the Elder Dragon resets, and that last bullet is almost enough to take off MMD's GA. Amazing J still diving in as well, but NL might shut him down for that particular item. Doesn't find it yet, and so much back and forth in these team fights.
NL really comfortable in these late game fights, not afraid to flash in aggressively.
Let's give Flash Wolves once again positioning over the Elder Dragon. Even giving up a Guardian Angel is not something anyone at Aimee want to do. See that Echo's coming back, rushing back into the fight. Elder Drake down to 7,000. Will we actually see a fall?
Avoidless looking for a massive flank here on the other side. The Elder Dragon low. Might get the steal as well. Maple dives in. He wants to avoid it. He got it! Elder Dragon steals it away as Avoidless. Absolutely massive play, and Aimee might win the team fight to boot. Double spot from Powerlock Convergence as they're ripping through them. Aimee have pulled the miracle out. 3-0 in that fight as well.
Massive engage, the bouncy castle on 3 members from Avoidless and casually smiting away. Of course, you can smite during the battle. They're continuing, and Aimee are going to look to end the game. It's still 40 seconds till Maple comes back.
Yeah, Rogue bought into the hype a little bit too much, flashes into the wall, but this was why a lot of people really wanted to see more of Avoidless on Aimee. Really not afraid to do something creative right there, and he finds the flank, steals away the Elder Dragon, and this means so much. Aimee may actually do it. It's a rough translation from I can, and they definitely could come back into this game.
No one fails to call this team hard-working, and they worked very hard to get the game to this point. MMD going to cancel out the ulti from Jin Zhao, but he's diving to his death, trying to buy time for his team. He Nars couple away, but he's now going to respawn here. Jin Zhao's going to pick him up. He'll flash out of the way, but that's another kill as Splash was getting their turrets torn to pieces. I don't think they've got the defense here, and Aimee are going to take down their first Nexus of the World Championship.
Question marks have to be put onto Flash Wolves. Aimee played their game. They were given time. They took it. A single fight around the Baron swung their game to them for the first time, and They carried it forward, and Flashwolves, they're going to feel really out of it. There's going to be a lot of VOD review for this team before we see them on the Rift again.
Oh, definitely so. Reminiscent of their match against TWE as well, you know, hanging in there despite a large deficit and then coming back in the end. Decisive. They really constantly threatened that Baron steal. They made Flashwolves so afraid of something that would end up happening anyway.
Yeah, I was gonna say, look what happened! The Elder Dragon eventually got stolen away as the teams all shake hands here, and Aimee, the Cinderella story from China, takes a game here in the World Championships. Definitely rough-looking Flashwolves. You can see where their strengths lie, but I think also some of their weaknesses, and Aimee, they'll have plenty to look at and clean up. But the story of the Chinese teams taking all the individual talent they've shown time and time again and translating it into more methodical play. We've only seen a couple games, but might be something to keep tracking here at the World Championships.
All three teams have been talked about as playing spoiler, playing spoiler for likes of C9 and SKT that a lot of people predict will be going through from this group. The SKT part, that's looking secure. Flashwolves, for 30 minutes of the game, were looking like the sort of team that we'd expect to get out of groups, but suddenly, Aimee now a